where you see Vincent Daniels on Sultai Urza taking on Abe Stein on Tima Urza. And this is a super easy matchup to call when it's happening at 2x speed. So we'll tell you everything that happens.
No, I love this.
I guess it's better than watching it at 1x speed, right?
Yeah, I really don't want to go through every iteration of what's going on if we don't need to.
Right. It looks like Vincent Daniels had turn 1 Emery. Abe Stein had the answer in Galvanic Blast, though. Sultai Urza versus Tima Urza. Abe Stein going to follow up with his own Emery. More and more artifacts accumulate on the battlefield for Vincent Daniels and is able to go ahead, make an Oko, and invalidate that Emery very quickly. I say invalidate. It's still a 3-3 Elk. Going to get its beat down on.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why Abe put it in his deck.
To have it be an Elk?
Yeah.
Smart. It's one of the cheapest Elks available. 1 mana for a 3-3 Elk. Not bad. Good rate. Must be a Modern Horizons card. So a lot of permanence on Vincent Daniels' side. Only Oko really accomplishing all that much. The Elk continues to chip down. Abe's going to go ahead and deploy an Astrolabe. Bauble gets cracked, takes a little peek at the top. And finally, Oko is going to go down to the Elk beats. Follow up Emery, though. 4 more cards hit the bin.
So early in the day, we saw some of these decks playing Future Sight.
We did.
But the red decks have Experimental Frenzy.
Yes. We talked for a bit about the difference between those two cards. You were pretty sold on Future Sight over Experimental Frenzy. Why don't you tell the people why?
So it's just weird to me in a deck that has as many counter spells as the Urza decks have, and all the ways that you draw extra cards, so you have a lot of cards in your hand many games. I would just think that you'd want access to them all the time.
And my contention is, I think they're for different matchups. I think often you'll be going to Experimental Frenzy when you're no longer banking on your Cryptic plan. The thing about Future Sight, though, is that you can just play it in the main deck, whereas these Teamer decks often have Experimental Frenzy in their sideboard.
Yeah, I believe Corey had 1 in his main deck.
That sounds correct. 1 Experimental Frenzy. We're seeing Archmage's Charm from Vincent Daniels. Haven't seen a ton of that card today, but it's doing work in this matchup. Keeping Abe Stein from really getting anything going. Things are happening. This is almost impossible to follow, Craig. Do you have any idea what's going on?
I actually have no idea.
Cool. I mean, I don't know what we're supposed to do with this match.
There was a Thoughtseize in there. I at least know that much.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate you bringing us up to speed there.
There's still an Elk.
I mean, when you're taking 42 actions per turn and when you're watching at 2x speed, there's no way I can possibly convey to a watcher what is happening in a matchup like this. I can tell you about why I don't like it and why I'm excited for a future where this may not be the face of Modern. But that's about all I can offer right here. Now there's Okos on both sides, so there's going to be lots of Elks made. Meaningless attacks being thrown back and forth. I'm sure there'll be plenty of chump blocking. Eventually, someone's life total will be reduced to 0, and this endless hell can end.
Ooh, Vincent really valuing that Oko.
Well, you can understand why. Nothing else really going on. No cards in hand.
Well, both players, right?
Yep. It's all about the Okos.
Ooh, little charm.
Get a rebuy on that. One interesting note about Archmage's Charm. I'm seeing less and less of that card. Someone mentioned to me, watching Danny Jessup play last week, super aggressive with the Archmage's Charm. Used it basically anytime 3 mana was available and it was in hand, would draw 2 at a moment's notice, which I think is an interesting application of that card. It seemed to be punished very hard when people were trying to be defensive with it, but if you're just using it on site, essentially.
Well, I think that's one of the things that these Urza decks do so well, is just have tons of resources all the time.
Right.
So if there's a turn where you have extra mana and you have the opportunity to draw more cards, I agree. I think it's important to take advantage of that while that's available.
Well, it looks like Vincent eventually pulled ahead on the Oko War, was able to reduce Abe Stein's life total to 0, and is now up a game in the super, super interesting and exciting Urza Mirror. I just looked over
come on.
I looked over at Craig. You were literally yawning. Literally yawning.
Don't sell this short.
This is what you asked for, Craig. You told the people you would provide them with an Urza mirror, and it has come through, and even better at 2x speed.
I like how you just make up anything you want.
Yeah, well, there's no consequences.
And
that's what's crazy.
That's what I'm saying is that
you can literally say anything.
This is the way most people are able to live their lives, right? Just consequence free.
Right. I really do recommend it. It's like a couple mulligans from both of our players here.
It's almost like your massive Yawgmoth purchase. It's like, this could turn out great for you. And if it doesn't,
I never have to mention it again.
There's no consequence.
It just goes away. It's incredible. Looks like Abe gonna go down to just 5 cards. We mentioned this is a deck that does mulligan pretty well. You really only need one of your power cards to start snowballing the game.
Yeah, it's funny to me, for a deck that is so synergistic, it actually, lots of the cards do provide card advantage along the way.
That's what's crazy about it. Like, there's no real weakness to the deck. And we keep emphasizing that point. Vincent Daniel's going to start with some acceleration. Gilded Goose. Meanwhile, Abe Stein just making land drops, not doing much. Second Gilded Goose coming down for Vincent. A lot of mana available. Abe still just land drops, nothing else going on. That could be good, though. Given the double mulligan, I would rather have a hand doing that than investing a lot of nothing onto the battlefield. But here's the Thoughtseize. Don't like to see that when you're mulliganing.
Yeah, we might find out what's really going on here.
Looks like Abe's going to fire off Mystical Dispute. It's going to resolve, and you see why. Oko going to come down, make an elk, get to the beatdown. Abe takes a draw, has an Oko of his own. Okay. Well, we got a game going. Just going to tick up, make a food.
Wait, yeah, it's...
Abrupt Decay, though, at the ready.
I'm a little surprised at the Abrupt Decay there when you can just attack the Oko dead.
Yeah. Want to keep the clock going. There's benefit to closing this game as soon as you can, for sure.
Yeah, it is fair. Vincent is such a commanding position that he just really leans on Abe. It might be the way to go.
And Abe falls to just 2, but big draw for Abe. It's Urza. Can Urza stem the bleeding? Does have Emery available as well. Gonna activate that. Mox Opal comes back. I think I see a Future Sight.
Yeah, it looks like a Future Sight.
No question that card goes off pretty hard. Meanwhile, Oko gonna go ahead and plus onto Urza. Want to shut that one down while you can. Abe floats a blue. It's like gonna float a second blue and crack food to go to 5. And here is Future Sight. Abrupt Decay floating on top of the library for Vincent Daniels. Future Sight's a powerful Magic card. It's from our heyday, Craig. I'm sure you've cast some Future Sights in your day.
I have. It is an exciting one.
Abe trying to find a way out of this very, very powerful permanent. Gonna rebuy a Galvanic Blast, replay Urza, double Construct. So starting to take an aggressive posture is Abe Stein. Is it going to be enough? Urza on top of the deck. It's a decent one to find a Future Sight. There is Urza.
You don't love this? Look at how ridiculous this game is.
It's cool in a ridiculous fashion, I'll give you that. This particular game.
This is the power level that I'm looking to have the format be at.
Well, okay, I'm going to slow you down there. Mana does not line up correctly to be able to go ahead and cast that Oko on the top of the library, unfortunately, so the turn is going to pass back to Abe.
That is super awkward.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I think we could have tapped very differently. Gonna get up to some Emery shenanigans.
Man, Everyone gets Oko. Everyone gets Urza.
It's funny to think that this game started with Abe on a Multi 5, but look at the battlefield he's put together. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but...
This is just so absurd. I love it.
Talk about me making things up. You're sitting here in line to the people at home.
Imagine trying to introduce a newer player to Modern.
This is the world they enter.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, what's the most important part of this board, right? That's kind of one of the things.
Focus on what matters.
Early games of Magic, yeah, you define what matters. This is a burn deck. Your life total is what matters the most. This is an aggressive deck.
Yep.
Like their biggest creature matters the most. The creature with the most enchantments on it matters the most.
Sure. Very clear rules.
This is a control deck. Killing them quickly is what matters the most. How do you explain this to someone?
Can't. Vincent just going off here. Astrolabe. That is finally